Hey everyone, it's time for the tutorial for the envelope border of the Halloween Mosaic Blanket Crochet Along. So I have my sample of just section 1, but I'm going to show you how to do the envelope border so you can make one yourself. Okay, so to start, I'm going to secure my ends, my yarn tails. I like to do this first. You don't have to. You can crochet the borders and then do it later, but I'm basically going to take 2 of these yarn tails, wrap them around my finger, and tie them in a knot. Your knot can be relatively close to the end of your work. It doesn't have to be exactly at the end, but you don't want to be tying your knot like way out here at the ends. We're going to tie knots here and then we're going to trim our tails. So I don't know, just stay relatively close. Do this all the way around your blanket. All right, now that we have tied them all together, get your scissors and we can trim these off just like you're giving it a haircut. You can leave about like, I don't know, 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the knot, just to give it the best chance of not coming undone, but not making it too long to hide in your envelope border. All right, so I know I made this section in purple and green so that I could show you the colors a little easier than crocheting in black. So I am going to pull out a new color here, I think. Well, I think we'll just go with the green again to get started. Or actually, I take that back. I'll pull out the white yarn so that you guys can see what I'm doing here compared to the actual blanket itself. But again, the details on the colors I used for the actual blanket border are going to be on the cowl page. To get started, remember an envelope blanket is going to be an envelope border is going to be 2 borders that we're going to crochet around the front and the back, just like this, and then we're going to sandwich them together or fold them together and crochet along that seam on the top. So I'm going to flip my blanket to the back, and I'm actually going to turn it upside down and move to the corner. So the tops and the bottoms are going to be the easiest things because you're able to see the stitches, and you're just going to be crocheting in the front and back loop. So like we did with the actual mosaic crochet blanket, you're going to find the back loop and you're going to find the front loop. And since we're making two borders, the border on the back side of the work, the wrong side of the work, is going to be worked in this front loop, the loop closest to you, all the way around. And then we'll talk about what to do on the sides, and then we'll flip it over and we'll do the other side here in a sec. So you can start really anywhere along the bottom. I don't recommend starting right in the corner, but maybe pick a few stitches off the corner and just remember where you're at. So I'm going to start right here. It looks like I'm roughly 5 stitches from the corner. I am going to find my front and back loops here, and I'm going to stick my hook through the front loop, grab my yarn over, and just pull a loop just to make that tight, secure. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet into that front loop, and I'm going to do a single crochet to the end of the row, 1 front loop only, single crochet. Okay, I've done 5 stitches and that got me to the corner. Now I need to chain 1, and then I need to turn the corner, so I need to put my next stitch on the side of this first row. If I can get it under there, that would be good. And then you see our border stitches are here, and we have 2 legs of each of the border stitches. If you can, you're going to single crochet under both, put your hook under both of those legs, and that's just going to make it a little sturdier. If you can't, no big deal, it's your blanket, no one is going to notice, but I like to get it under both of those legs where I can, and just keep going with 1 single crochet all the way down. Be patient with yourself as you're working the sides. They are going to be the hardest parts of this first round. After the first round of this border, everything else is kind of a breeze, but just getting your hook under those 2 legs can be frustrating at times, especially if you crochet very tightly. It can just be a little bit difficult. So that's why some people like to use a smaller hook. I didn't for my blanket. But you're welcome to if that just helps you get your hook under those legs of the stitch. Okay, now I'm at the last row. Here's my corner, so I'm going to go with my single crochet there, and then chain 1, and then into the front loop I'm going to make another single crochet. I'm going to turn my work all together, and I'm going to continue with just the front loop. So you'll see here are my loops along the top. I'm just sticking my hook under the front one, the one closest to me, and I'm going to single crochet all the way down to the next corner. Okay, I've come to the next corner. I'm going to do a single crochet in the loop, a chain 1, and then I'm going to do a single crochet in the legs of the stitch over here. And I think this is going to be my challenging side. Usually one side is a little bit more challenging than the other to get your hook under those legs. Okay, there we go. All right, and you kind of will need to push your, make sure that the things that you're tying are going to stay on the back side if you don't want them on the front, because then you would see them. Don't be afraid to like bend your work, move your needle around or your hook around, kind of be forceful with it. So we can, there we go. Goodness. Okay, so some of these I am struggling to get my hook under two of the legs, so I'm just going under one of them. I'm not going to be too worried about it. I feel like everything's pretty secure, so this is your permission to just do one loop if you like. And also you might find you want to try to make the back border before you tie the knots and cut your things. I'm noticing here, like sometimes they're getting in my way. If you're noticing that, or they're just because they're tied together, you can't really flop them around. Feel free to do that. There's no true order here to tying those knots and when you have to do it. All right, we are at the last stitch here. In the corner. Oops. Went in the wrong spot. And okay, continue that front loop only all the way across. And it might not look like the front loop here. There's almost like 3 loops, and that's because this is my foundation single crochet. So it's kind of like the middle loop was what I'm using, because you can see on the top here that here are my V's. So I'm just making sure to get in that one right there on the front of the V. But it honestly, it really it's not going to matter if you do that one or the other one that also kind of looks like a front loop. Okay, I'm making my way back to where I started this round of the border. I'm gonna do kind of what we call an invisible join. You basically need to slip stitch to this stitch that I started, but I'm gonna take my hook out and I'm gonna stick my hook under both loops, but just from the back side. And I'm gonna grab that hook or grab that loop with my hook, and I'm gonna pull it back through, and I'm gonna pull it tight. And that's just gonna make this seam pretty much invisible. Again, you can do a regular slip stitch to join here, no big deal. If you were going to change colors after this row, once you've done this invisible join, now you can grab your next color and attach it. And if you're going to use this color again, this white again, you could, if you're like I did in the actual blanket, I went from black to the candy corn colors back to black. I just left the black attached. I didn't cut it loose here, and then I just picked it back up when I got to the end. So I'm going to do the rest of this backside border in white, and then I'll show you how to change colors on the front side, but I'm just giving you a heads up there. So to keep going here, we're going to chain one, and we're going to keep doing rounds just like we did, but this time I'm going to switch to back loop only single crochets. So just like we did when we were making the actual blanket, I'm going to continue making those all the way to the corner. And then when you get to the corner, you're going to chain one. Well, I got to make a stitch in the corner here. And then you can single crochet, chain one, single crochet back into the same corner stitch, and just continue going all the way around. Like I said, that first round of the border is the hardest because you just have to get it connected into those border stitches, but the rest is pretty much a breeze. It's up to you if you change colors or not. So just groove right along here and get those back loop only single crochets all the way around. When you get to the corners, single crochet, chain one, single crochet again into the same stitch, and then just keep going down the next row. All right, I did, and I'm gonna skip to the end here after a second, but I did 5 rows for my envelope border on the Halloween blanket. So that's what I'm gonna do here is 5 rows, 5 rounds of white. So this is my second round. If you're using different stitches, like half double crochet or double crochet, something like that, you will, you can make your border longer. You can do all sorts of different things here. So just be creative. But I'll see you back here after I've finished 5 rounds of this back border. And then we'll start the front border. Okay, I am at the last couple stitches of the back border here. So I just wanted to pop back in and show you that, how I'm going to finish this back. I'm going to come in again with the invisible join, stick my hook out from the other side, pull this through, pull this tight. And then I'm going to find my scissors and trim the tail. And I'm going to do one more yarn over, if I can find this tail, yarn over and pull the tail all the way through and pull that tight. And you can see the seam here. Well, if you can see the seam here is pretty invisible since we did that. So here is the back border, just the plain white. We're gonna flip it over, flip this back around so you can see now the front side. If you haven't tied and trimmed your ends, this is a good chance to do that now if you didn't already do that. And we're going to do the front border here, and we're going to do that in between. When we get to the sides, we're going to do it the same way, but we're going to go under these front two legs of these border stitches as well, and into the front loop of the top and the bottom all the way across. So in order to get started, I'm going to flip my work upside down, and that just keeps the seam at the bottom of my blanket. You really can start wherever, but you can line your seams up if you wanted to start on the same side and go all the way across. You can do that too, or you can come to the other side. And I think I started about 5 stitches in over here. I'm going to stick my hook under a front loop, grab my yarn, leave a little bit of a tail here, and then I'm going to yarn over, pull that tight. I'm going to chain 1 and do a single crochet back into that front loop to get me started here. And then I'm going to continue to single crochet in the front loop until I get to the corner, just like we did before. It's a little bit tough to get started here, trying to find that front loop again, especially when you have the foundation single crochet. So I got started. I'm going to chain 1 in the corner, and then I'm going to go under the side here for my corner stitch, and then I'm going to continue up the side, working under those front 2 legs in each of the stitches. Just again making a regular single crochet stitch into these border stitches. Just like the back, this is going to be the hardest round that you do. It is a little, I don't know, I find it a little bit easier to do the front side border, partially because you're already kind of in the swing of things, but also I think finding the stitches is a little easier to see those legs on the front side. Just work that hook in there. We're going to continue all the way to the corners. Don't forget when you get to the corner to chain 1 in that corner before you move on to the next stitch, and then along the top just keep going with your single crochets in the front loop. Make sure you chain 1 in the corners and then go back through the 2 legs on each of the stitches on the side. Make sure you push those knots and ties out of the way so that they're behind your work. Make sure we want to keep them in between both sections of the border. All right, we are back to the beginning here, and unlike the back border that is all white, I want to show you how to change colors in your border. So I'm going to switch to my green here for the next row. First, I'm going to do that invisible join, so I'm going to take my hook out. On the last stitch, I'm going to come under from the back side, both of the loops, grab that loop again and pull it back through my work. And then I'm going to find the tail. I'm going to pull it tight. That's going to join the first row. Then I'm going to grab my green, my next color, and I'm going to pull that through my work. And then I'm going to tighten down. I'm going to pull on that white so it basically makes that tight. I'm going to hold on to both tails. I'm going to hold the white and the green. I'm actually not going to cut the white because I'm going to come back to that later with this border. So I'm just going to leave that loose. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet into the back loop of that first stitch that I was connected to. And then I'm going to continue back loop only single crochet all the way across here. And I'm gonna make sure we get single crochet, chain 1 single crochet in the corners, and continue that back loop only all the way around. So I'll be back when we get back to the beginning of this second round of the border. All right, I'm coming back to the end of round 2 in the green. I'm going to switch back to the white. I'll show you how to do that. So just got to get my invisible join here for the green. Oop, lost my hook here. Pull that through, pull it tight. And I'm going to just pick up the white again. So go back to the tail of the white, pull up a loop, pull the green tight, and then I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet into the back loop of the stitch that I'm currently working in. And this is going to be round 3. I'm going to make round 3 in white. I'm going to make round 4 in green again, so I would just do the same thing, switching colors. If you want to switch to different colors, then you're just going to connect the yarn the same way, and you can then cut the yarn that you're finishing up, cut the tails, and move to a new color. But I'm going to keep it simple, make some simple green stripes here for this front border. And all right, I'm going to be back at the end of row 5, and I'm going to show you how we close these borders up. All right, I am finished with row 5 of the front border here. I'm just going to do my invisible join. I'm also going to trim my ends here, and I am going to do a different color for the top. So I just want to fasten this off and show you how that's going to work here. So I'm going to fasten off with the white. I'm going to use this purple color so you have something to look at that's different. I'm going to go through that first stitch where the seam was. I'm going to go under both loops. And I'm also going to line up, well here, I guess before we get started. So you see front border, okay? And the sides, all my knots are in the middle. The back border is here. So we are going to single crochet around, but with both of these borders together. So we're going to single crochet all the way around. I'm going to pick my hook back up. I'm going to go under those. I'm going to come in at the seam, go under 2 loops. Then I'm going to line up my corners here and find the same, let's see, find the matching stitch on the other side. Might take you a minute just to make sure you're playing with those stitches correctly. There we go. Yeah, back in here. Okay, take my purple and I'm gonna pull it through all of those loops. I'm gonna hold on to the tail. I'm gonna pull that tight, and then I'm gonna chain 1 I'm going to go back under all of those to start my first single crochet. All right, and now I'm going to hold both sides of the border together. I'm going to go under the 2 loops in the front border, the 2 loops in the back border. Excuse me. And I'm going to single crochet through all of those loops. And so I'm doing it here in this purple, so you'll be able to see the color. Again, be creative with your borders. It's so much fun to add another layer of ideas to your pattern. When you get to the corners, it's going to be the same thing as when you are making each of the borders. You're going to want to chain 1. Oh, I think I'm not there yet. Need to do 1 more stitch here. Chain 1 and then back into the same stitch to turn that corner. Continue down the side doing 1 single crochet in each set of stitches here. So I'm just going to continue all of this around. When I get back to the end or back to the beginning, I'm going to fasten off again, and that is going to be the finished envelope border for the Halloween Mosaic Blanket. All right, I am at the end of the enclosure row. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Let me back this up a little bit. Okay, I forgot that I had these ends in here, and instead of weaving them in, I'm going to do just like I did with the fringe on the side, and I'm just going to tie these in knots. And then I'm going to cut the ends. And they are just going to tuck right inside of there. I probably could tie this one to it as well. Let's see if I can get that around there. All right, this one doesn't want to cooperate on me. Which, no big deal. If you don't want to tie them in, you can just weave them in like normal. But I thought, let's take advantage of the knots while we're here. All right, got that one tied in, and tuck these in, and then I can finish. and I'm going to get to the end of this round here. I'm going to take my hook, do one last invisible join, so under both of those top loops of this stitch. I can get it in there. Oh, I lost it. Pull that through, pull this tight, and I'm going to cut the tail. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull that through. So that is tight. There is the invisible seam on the front. And remember, this is at the bottom of my work here. So that way, when you're snuggling with your blanket, you don't have the seam up here at the top. And the last thing you need to do is weave in this end. So I am going to thread my yarn on my yarn needle here. I'm going to come around and I'm going to actually go to the next stitch. I'm going to go under both loops, and I'm going to come in and go back kind of under those loops as well on, or in the V, kind of around, basically making the same look as the end of a stitch, making a V. And then on the back side, I'm going to work on weaving in my ends. And since this is in purple, I kind of need to stay in the purple. If your top stitch is the same color as one of the sides or something next to it, or the whole back, you can then kind of weave it down the back side, but I don't want that purple showing. So I'm just going to weave it here under these stitches, back and forth a little bit to make it a little more secure. And come back one more time. And back this way. Okay, now I'm gonna pull this a little bit tight, trim it off, stretch it back out, and there we are. That is all about the envelope border for the Halloween Mosaic Blanket Cowl. You can also use this border for any kind of mosaic project that you have, but it just really, you can see it's not really all that extra thick, and those ends that we tied off are hidden in here. You really, I mean, honestly, you'd have to look hard to see them, but it just is such a pretty finish, and you can do so many different things. I just did simple stripes, try different stitches, try different kinds of stripes, and show me, tag me on social media when you have yours done. I'd love to see what you have made. Thanks for joining me for this tutorial, and I hope to see you in the next one.